Like, that's somebody's idea of freedom of speech. But what it really means is Nazis can march down the street and...
But we're also living in an age where a lot of America's enemies are trying to weaponize our ideals of free speech against us. You know, Putin being a really good example. If you think he would allow half the shit to be said in Russia, like, you're just crazy.
Yeah.
But there is a fomenting of division. And I think it's reasonable for a country like ours to really struggle with what's the line between, vaccine disinformation, right? Where's the line between election denialism, like whipped up by hostile foreign powers? I mean, how do you kind of see that?
I think that I treat it the same way that I treat guns. And I think a lot of people have trouble seeing this. So I like firearms. However, I will acknowledge that there is a penalty to having firearms in society. Just by virtue of having it, more people are likely to die from it. Proliferation of guns means more criminals are going to use it. Having one in the house means you're more likely to kill yourself, or have a child kill themselves, et cetera, et cetera. That's a trade-off that I accept as part of that right to own a firearm. I feel like people sometimes want freedom of speech, but they don't realize that there comes a cost with that right. And I think that something that is happening is we need to understand that if we're going to have freedom of speech, not only are we going to have the freedom of speech, we need to be able to share it with people that we have vehement disagreement with. And I think right now people think that, like, okay, well, I have freedom of speech. That means that means that I have the right to say that we should have 25 an hour minimum wage, and that guy over there has the right to say that we should only have 15 an hour minimum wage. Like, that's somebody's idea of freedom of speech. But what it really means is Nazis can march down the street and you can advocate for trans children having access to hormones. That's what it really means. And what it means is those two groups of people who are about as opposed as any two groups of people in world history have to be able to live and share like the same government. And right now, that is like unfathomable to most people. Progressives can't handle it. Conservatives are trying to fucking ban books out of libraries and schools. It seems like nobody has that principled position of freedom of speech. It's more just like I want to be able to say what I want to say, and maybe people like one bubble away from me can also say things, and then past that it needs to be banned, shut down, or murdered, basically, is what it feels like.
There are a lot of people in your community that are like very, I think, skeptical of my trying to engage with you more positively here. And it really is because of that exact principle. Something I've been extremely dismayed with the left is, during Gamergate, I do believe in anti-harassment policy. I believe there is a stronger role to play in enforcement. I think they should be spending money on this stuff. I think that when you're prosecuting death threats, that shouldn't just be to police officers. But for whatever reason, there's been a change or an acceleration of the culture on the left where death, rape threats are fine if it's targets we don't like. You found that out yourself last week.
It's that quote that I think I've heard Bosch even say it. There are no bad tactics, only bad targets. And it's like,
100%. I've said that 1,000 times. Yeah. And I'm truly wrestling. I really mean this, dude. I am wrestling with the progressive movement because I do believe in things like, obviously, trans rights. I believe universal health care is the most cost-effective way to move forward. I do think we need, to address wealth inequality in our country. There are policies that I believe in, but I'm looking at the culture of the progressive movement, which more and more just does not seem intellectually honest to me, right? It's doing things that I find really morally repugnant, and I don't know how to square that circle.